Remix. 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 Remix.
Oh, yeah. This is the Remix Morning Show. Right here on Black Liberation Media. In case you didn't know, I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. We are here to bring you that boom bap breakfast. And we are just trading war stories, talking about this, that, and the third. News, culture, all that right here. Let me let y'all know who's in the building today. We got no other than Erica K. And Jackie Luma.
Hey.
Peace.
Good morning.
Oh.
Peace, everybody. Oh.
All right. I see y'all. Get your orange shirt on and your gray. I see you.
Oh, we're going to have this fight? We're going to have this fight publicly now?
Not at all. For all those in the chat room who look at Jackie's shirt, please let us know what color it is. We're just wondering.
You cannot do that because everybody's
Hey, wait. How you
everybody's
can't
monitor is different, so it'll look a little different, but
it look like it's matching one side of the screen in the background. That's all I'm saying.
It looks like it's matching the middle of the screen. It's fading into a color.
That's I have to agree with that. This is my deep yellow.
See, why you gonna throw it out there? Now you're gonna have people be like, yeah, it's yellow.
See, marigold.
See?
What is marigold? Yellow and orange getting married?
No.
I mean, ain't it? Isn't it? As they say in the Brits. Anyway. Y'all beautiful ladies doing this morning?
I'm great.
Okay.
Anticipating my child waking up and running out here at any moment. But
okay.
Other than that.
Is Zion pretty good at art?
He's not a fan of sitting down and drawing. But he likes visual art.
Okay. Because I was gonna say he needs to draw the design for the Remix Morning Show so we can put it up. That'll be something to keep him busy while you're doing this. You know, I'm good with busy work for kids.
Bothering me is his favorite pastime.
Well, can't stop that. So, what happened out in these BAP streets this weekend, ladies? I'm always ready for it.
I mean, we had our very own Erica Keynes spoke at the really, really great People's Summit for Korea in New York City this weekend. That was a really fantastic event that was organized by our comrades in Nodutal.
What? And who?
The Korean Anti-imperialist organization. I'm not gonna mess with.
We have had members on this show.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's called Nodutal.
Close enough.
Okay. I was just trying to get out.
I'm not gonna mess with you. Messing up these people's things.
No to dog. Okay.
NODO.
I just said it, Rick.
Okay.
No to dog.
Oh, I was going to correct the spelling, but all right. When it's not the ever.
Thank you. That's my new song.
But yeah, so that's important because in the United States, people don't really know about the Korean War. They don't understand the context of the struggles that are going on in Korea. They don't even understand why the U.S. has so much antagonism toward the DPRK, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, right? And they don't understand that historically it is a major a major aspect of U.S. imperialism in history, and it's U.S. imperialism is the reason that Korea is split. So into North and South, and there's all this antagonism, and South Korea is basically a U.S. military base, that where it's practically occupied by the U.S. and has been since the non-end of the Korean War. So the anti-imperialist struggles of Koreans is so closely connected with the anti-colonial and anti-imperialist struggles of Africans and of us in the diaspora, because our people were deeply involved in that Korean conflict. And there's a lot of African and Korean solidarity and history that comes out of that conflict. And it also kind of explains the Korean obsession with fried chicken. I'm not kidding. That
really
is
good.
Yes, then that is also like a legacy of the history of Black folks fighting in the U.S. military and leaving their mark, so to speak, on other cultures that they didn't even realize, they were engaged in this imperialist domination of, and in that realization that these people are fighting the same thing in Korea that our people are fighting, in the U.S. And then you have this interesting exchange of culture that you still see evident in Korea. So, expanding international solidarity to include working with as many people as we can who have been fighting U.S. imperialism, and the history of the Korean War it is extremely important, because we don't know how devastating that war was and what the U.S. did to Korea, and why the anti-imperialist struggle is still very, very relevant and robust in Korea. So we're really, really excited that we were invited to be a part of this, their People's Summit for Korea, and that our Erica spoke, and it was fantastic. And then they ended the session with singing the Internationale, which is one of my favorite songs. I love it.
The Internationale?
Oh Lord Jesus. Okay. Let's just call
what is it called?
Let's just call it the International for us lazy tongued.
So is it a song that I can go play, or is it like this song
that there's many versions?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Put me on so I can have it on deck next time. I like to know new music. Yes.
Yeah.
Erica.
The People's Summit was a 3-day summit. It was their first one. They had hundreds of people attend. They had delegations from the ROK, which is we know as South Korea. I was not able to. Well, they had a Friday, and then they had the Saturday plenaries, and then they had the large march. It was a large march in Times Square on Sunday that people were able to participate. So we had some BAP NYC members there that took pictures. The comrade in the chat, Rouse Pasta Sauce, was there that took photos. We had BAP members, take tabling and talking about the work that BAP does with the development of the Asia Pacific committee that does that work. Which just released that that interview with Max. So folks can go check that out on Black Alliance for Peace. But really, I think for me, when we talk about the issues with Korea, there's a lot of the history that is not known. And a part of my offerings on Saturday was talking about the ways that we do not understand Korea, similarly to the ways that we do not understand Africa, and the balkanization of Korea and the balkanization of Africa being because of Western imperialism. and how the West fears a reunification of Korea, similarly to the reunification of an Africa, for the same reasons and what that would mean, and how the West pushes balkanization, which is a lot of what we discussed last week with Max and Syria, and you can see many iterations of that. But I think one of the highlights for me is before I came on, I told you that right immediately after I couldn't stay because my first niece is having her first baby, and it was her baby shower, and it was the hoodest shit I ever attended. Shout out to Castle Hill.
They had 40 bottle games and stuff like that.
The whole block was spliffed out. It was
they was throwing Tims on the phone lines and stuff like that. It was one of them. Who can
yeah,
get the Tims on the line, y'all?
yeah. But yeah, so it was great though. But one of the things I appreciated is that because I was running in, and it was like, "Where you coming from? Where you was at?" I was like, "Oh, I had to do this thing in Harlem, at this conference." Because they asked me if I was a freedom fighter this weekend too, by the way. But, I said to do this conference in Harlem. It's like, "Oh, what you was talking about?" And I was like, "Oh, Korea." It's like, "Oh shit," because we heard about that North Korean man. Yo, he crazy. And so like, I talk about that with them. Like, "Oh no, because that's not what it is, and this is what happened." And of course, everybody look it out, but nonetheless, we had a good conversation about Korea. Me and like 10 people.
Oh,
And then,
wow.
a few people was like, "Oh, send me that video that she was talking about." And I thought they meant like baby shower videos. And I didn't have my phone. My son had my phone. And I was like, "What video?" And they said, "Oh, no, that summit thing you were talking about." I said, "Oh, don't just watch me, watch the whole thing." So,
Okay. Nice. It sound like you was outside this weekend. That's dope.
yeah.
So let me come with a random question for y'all this morning. When it comes to it's not that bad. When it comes to speaking and engagement in front of these crowds, for those that's looking at one day having one of these, there'll be a speaker and engaging crowds. What is one of your rituals? I mean, when it comes to talking to crowds, do you prep by having notes? Do you just get the topic and then you freestyle it once you learn a little bit about it? How do you go about doing your whole ritual before you get up in front of these crowds and do your thing?
It depends. I always have notes. I always start, with bullet points. And the bullet points are always centered around, whatever the event is, which is always connected to the work BAP does. We've probably issued a statement about it. We've definitely, done some type of internal grounding. So there's a lot of BAP information that I prepare. And if I'm speaking in front of a rally, it's usually like 2-3 minutes. If it's a panel discussion, it's, sometimes between 5 to 10. It depends. But I always start with bullet points. And then I read the room, pretty much.
Okay.
And then I read the room because, especially if I'm speaking at a rally, because the energy might be different. The energy is definitely different at a rally than at like a big panel discussion at a conference. So there's
Because
probably a little bit
panels,
more.
you gotta get in where you like when you know it's your time. You gotta hit them like bam, 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 because there's so many different
Time
people.
shit, man.
Yeah, I mean the time is crazy, but I mean
Yeah.
it's the same. I mean, for me, that's the same regardless of what the
Okay.
event is. I gotta hit my points
Yeah.
always. I gotta hit my points. But whether I'm gonna try to connect with people on like a personal and emotional kind of level, that is like an on the fly kind of decision, and that's usually at rallies. But there have been like some conferences that I've or other kinds of panels that I've spoken on, and I've done that a little bit too. So it just kind of depends. I always start with notes, but I don't always stick to all of the notes.
Okay, that sounds like me DJing. You go in with your set, and then you read the room and be like, all right, well, I'll go from here now. What about you, Erica?
I don't know that I have a process.
Before you blaze it down and go out there and blaze
I
them.
don't know anything about that. I think it's like if I'm aware of what I'm being asked to speak about, then I try to, like Jackie say, make notes of like how do we connect these things, like what is it that I want to make sure that I'm highlighting, those kind of things. But even with panels, I think the time thing stresses me out because especially more recently, because I do think there's value in being verbose because there is a lot of context that is needed and necessary. So when there is, when you have a time limitation, especially like in a Q&A, if somebody asks you a very weighted question, how do you respond to that in ways that it makes sense not only to them but also to like the wider audience that's listening, right? Because you're not just responding or talking to one person or the people that's there, especially if it's something that's virtual. So I always think about like maximizing the amount of time that I have to making these points, but then also if there's interpretation that messes up your time, because you can have something that you want to say, but you also have to speak slower so that people can catch it because it's multiple languages that are present in the room. So that throws things off, So I think that sort of over awareness of time is a bit stressful, like when they have the cards there. Not quite Rafiki, where he acknowledges, oh, look, they want me to wrap it up. And that goes on 20 more minutes.
Oh, my God. This is last thing. This is last thought right here. Let me get it off. Like,
yeah. Let me just say this real quick. And I'm going to leave it right here. And then it goes on and on. I have mastered that skill. Also, the kind of confidence of like going off. No, I am good at that, but I don't often do that in panel situations because I want to make sure that I am saying all the things that I need to be saying within that time. Because going off script is like, well, I'm about to take some time.
Well, I appreciate that. I know people out there appreciate it for those that's trying to really get into the speaking space and getting their stuff together. Because I could imagine it's like going from one conference to another one. You just got to have your mind and your notes to be like, okay, what we talk about? What we talk about? All right, boom, blah, 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 blah. So good for y'all. Yeah. All right. Like, you said what?
It's not that rigid, though.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not. Yes.
I mean, when you know what you're talking about, I mean, you pretty much kind of freestyling anyway, and you just know what to talk about and your points. So I get it. When I need to get the people up off their seat, I know what song to throw
on. What song would that be at this moment?
That song right at this moment would be "Boots on the Ground."
Oh God, no!
Boots on the ground.
Damn it to hell! Wow.
You can't escape, Jackie.
No, really, you cannot.
You can't escape that song when them fans start popping.
I hate that I found a video of one of the big black cowboy trail rides. Well, not country cowboy, it's really country. It's the big trail rides that we do in the South, where it's folks riding horses, yeah, but it's also for folks on four-wheelers, and it's a big ass party, out in the woods. And yeah, there's drinks and dancing and all this kind of stuff. And I find these videos on social media. I'm like, oh, cool, somebody finally sees what we do. And the next thing I know, it's this whole boots on the ground and the fans stuff. I'm like, oh my God, why? I'm sorry. I found those videos.
I plan on learning some salsa dancing this weekend. I got a teacher that's going to help me out and do some salsa dances. So I'm going to be ready. Anyway, all right. I guess it's time to go ahead and take a quick break so we can jump into some news. We got a guest at the top of the hour, a couple guests at the top of the hour, some of my favorites coming through. So let's go ahead and take a quick break and come back right here on No Other Than the Remix Morning Show. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare. And where can you go to donate? blkliberationmedia.org. Yes, we appreciate your support. That keeps this thing going and keeps us doing our thing. So let's get to a remix on the remix. Started off early. Let's do it like that.
In the middle of the day now, baby, I seem to think of only you. Oh yeah, never think of a moment, baby, that you get thinking of me. Yeah. So I can't wait for the day that we can be together. I can lay you up early. Oh, can't you see you and me wanting to be your baby? And there's nothing left to say. Can't you see what you do to me? I love when to bring you are there.
All right. Let me take you to a time and place. Let me take you back to 1995 with Total off that New Jersey Drive soundtrack. The name of that song is Can't You See? A little bit of B.I.G. on there too. And that is mixed with 2012. We talk about my man Rock Marciano off his album Reloaded. The name of that song is 76. Now, as we said, make sure y'all share and care and share right here on the Remix Morning Show as we bring it to you each and every week. All right, with that said, let's get back to it. Remix Morning Show, y'all. Let's go. All right. Rock Marciano, one of the cats that pretty much started the Griselda sound movement. For those out there who don't know, where we talk about a lot of music with samples and not a lot of bass. Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Griselda until By Any Means Necessary, because Sean loves
Now, Sean is somebody in BAP that plays it all the time or something?
I was in PSL.
Sean Blackman, Sean the Voice Blackman.
Oh, okay. It's a lot of Seans out here. You
know. No, there's only one Sean.
A lot of Sean. You're quick on your feet here, Doctor.
I mean, you know.
Only one Sean that matters.
I was actually out on the court playing ball for 2 hours in the sun, and it was like 95 degrees yesterday. So I'm almost twinning with Jackie right now. You know what I'm saying?
I was about to say, and that's all. That's it.
2 hours in the sun, going hard. Come on, man.
Is Air Doctor yellow or orange?
On that note, that was a good one. I'm out.
That was fantastic. That was fantastic. Oh boy. Uh-oh, now he got, now he upset.
You tight. How are you, Jackie?
Oh man, I'm okay, I think. Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Man, the kids, I think I ate more sugar in one day than I have in the entire month of July. But it was good, and going further down south this weekend for my family reunion. I haven't seen my family in a while, so I just really needed to be with my folks. So we're going to the fish fry Friday, and then the family reunion fish fry / pool party Friday, and then the family reunion Saturday, and just gonna hang out with my folks and yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It's nice to be a little what did the man say? Oh, things slow down during the summer. No, you have to
No,
make
it
them
has
slow
not.
down.
I feel like July was a fever dream. Did it happen?
um
Was I present? Um,
and if you were, where were you?
where wasn't I?
Right.
Well, I hope you make it back in time for the surprise birthday party that is going to be thrown for me by by the BAP members in the region.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that that's some secrets we don't keep real well.
Well, not when you yourself are planning it.
um okay, that's
Well, you're giving little suggestions.
yeah, that's not
A garden party.
just dropping hints.
One could wear her nice dress.
Right. I love a themed party.
Little candle action.
Wait a
Flowers.
minute. Are we doing
Mimosa bar.
are we doing a Bridgerton theme for you?
Oh, whoa. I said garden party.
Okay, okay.
A mimosa bar, blanket pillows.
Okay, okay.
Why not have a party when y'all fighting and throwing drinks at each other, like one of the house wife parties?
No, sir. That is love and hip hop. Please
Oh, my
stay in
bad.
your lane. Stick to the rivers and the lakes that you.
Ah! Okay, well, thank you for letting me know that. I will govern myself accordingly.
Garden party attire, of course.
Okay, all right. I do have some attire and a lovely hat that I can.
See, there you go.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well, let's get to this news. We got some news. Let's get to it.
Somebody.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Remix Morning Show. I am Jackie Lukman. This is Erica Caines, and this is the news. What's going on in the world today, Erica, that you want to start us off with?
Well, I am not that prepared today. So if you have a story, we can go to it. There is something though that I did see. That's why I said I'm not that prepared because I prefer to be and have informed opinions before I start speaking about a thing. But I think I mentioned loosely in passing since the elections in Trinidad and Tobago, one, that lady is nuts, but also that she is setting herself up in such a way to be used intentionally so by whatever the U.S. government has planned for the region. So one of the things that was announced is, and I'm just going to pick it up slowly, that there's a Southcom naval ship that is going to be issuing free healthcare for Trinidad and Tobago for the foreseeable future. So I thought that was an interesting news update, primarily because of all that's happening with the threats about the use of Cuban doctors and nurses in the region. So now, there's sanctions on Cuban doctors, but the U.S. the U.S. Navy can now provide a hospital. From August 5th to August 11th, they will be there providing free healthcare, and that's part of they're calling an offer for comfort. Yeah, the USN
Yeah.
Comfort to offer free medical services. It says the U.S. Navy hospital ship USNS Comfort will visit Trinidad and Tobago from August 5th to 11th as part of the continuing promise to 2025 mission. The vessel will be moored in Port of Spain. So that's one instance, and it gets better. And then a comrade of mine here locally, who's also Trinidadian, dropped this in my lap this morning from the Trinidad Express, and this is a news outlet in Trinidad. That the headline is "Explosive Grenades and Rogue Officers in Massive Plot to Attack Police, Judiciary, and the DPP." So it is saying that explosive grenades and high-power rifles allegedly smuggled in from Venezuela and South American countries were used in artillery strikes against the Trinidad and Tobago Police Services, members of the judiciary, and the director of the public prosecutions. So the Sunday Express was told that the law enforcement intercepted a detailed plan involving the use of C4 explosive to breach the wall of the maximum security prison, allowing for the escape of forts into forested areas. Rocket-propelled grenades were also reportedly intended to disable law enforcement's air support and tactical units. So this is interesting because just a couple of weeks ago, this woman had a very passionate speech, and if I can find it, I will play it. But she had a very passionate speech about, if they're ready to go to war, we'll go to war too. And I first thought, what war Trinidad and Tobago ready to go to? Because what military, like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? So we see that this is just one instance, but this is also happening as she is quote unquote taking on the gangs, right? Because there is an uptick in crime in Trinidad and Tobago, across the Caribbean region, even though Haiti is spoken about as an anomaly, right? Like it's only happening there, but they're using this sort of uptick in crime across the region, again, to do partnerships with Southcom, not just with hospitals and free healthcare, but actual military training. So we see that is taking place. But I just think it's very interesting because the view of her and also the view of Mia Motley is this sort of, and I guess in the extension to Kamala Harris as well, this sort of women in leadership kind of thing that's being played upon, right? Especially when they're persons of color, right? Because Kamala is not Black. Kamala's Indian, Hindu, nationalist. And that's a whole another set of issues in terms of the governance in her former governance when she took on that position in Trinidad and Tobago. So I just think it's interesting and things to watch, because as that is happening, we see grassroots movements really start to pay closer attention to the mechanisms of imperialism. And not to say that this hasn't been an ongoing thing, but I think Palestine has really set off a trajectory of how grassroots movements are understanding a particular contradiction within their governments that's extending now to other aspects beyond Palestine. So we're seeing these marches. I think on Monday in Trinidad and Tobago, in Barbados, and I believe another Caribbean country, they had like a pots and pans protest about the starvation that's happening, and they're taking it to the embassies. Also on Monday was the hearing, and I think I spoke about this a few weeks ago, maybe last week, that the grassroots movements of Barbados, one of which is a member, the Caribbean Movement for Peace, is a member of the Zone of Peace Strategic Committee. They filed a lawsuit against the government of Barbados, and the hearing was on Monday. So there are things that are happening on the grassroots level that are shaking up the core of CARICOM, these CARICOM heads of states that are beholden to whatever administration, right? Because this is not dissimilar to the kind of bending and folding that they would do for the Biden administration, especially as it pertains to Haiti. And we're seeing a continuance of this as it relates to Trinidad and Tobago and also Guyana's prospective relationships with Venezuela.
Mm-hmm. And for folks who may have just joined and may not know who you're talking about, or for folks who just don't know who you're talking about, who is the Caribbean Bob candidate that
for in Trinidad?
Yeah.
Kamala, let me get Kamala's last name because I always say it wrong intentionally, so because F her. But because I know when I used to previously speak about Kamala and they like I'd be corrected. I was like, no, not Kamala Harris. Like there's a whole nother
right.
Because it is a Indian name. So it's Kamala Prasad Basasar.
Okay.
And she has formerly been the prime minister. She lost to Keith Raleigh. I also want to know when she lost and had no job, she was recognizing Juan Guaido at the time as leader. So this is who this lady is. Like she's not new to any of this, right? But Keith Raleigh and that party messed up so badly in their years. I mean, Keith Raleigh stepped down. He just quit before the end of his time to quote unquote live out his days on the beach with his family. Trinidad and Tobago is a whole nother world. It is a lovely place.
I love how your accent slides on in and slides on out so easily and seamlessly when you talk about it.
It is a beautiful place. It is a.
But your point.
Black witness that is going there. So.
It is the continuing. It's the disease of colonial the colonial influence on politics that keeps on giving. I mean, but your point about how people are looking at these women in leadership, and particularly Black women in leadership, although this woman is not okay. It's interesting because it's the kind of conversation that I think I end up having with a lot of people when they talk about, it's time for women to lead because look at what men have led us to. It's like, so y'all don't know anything about Queen Elizabeth, huh? Y'all
Margaret Thatcher
and Margaret Thatcher and
but I mean, but
really, no, this is not a women are going to save us. It's not a Black women are going to save us, because when the women are imperialists, they will kill as many of us too.
Right, because it's not. It's akin to the listen to Black women thing, because it's a particular kind of Black women that they will listen to. You and I,
right?
You and I are not the Black women that they are asking to be heard. In fact, they would like us to speak less.
Right.
Right. So it is that sort of thing that we see erupt. Right, because when they talk about or they push this sort of identity reductionism forward, there is a particular politic that comes with it. It is not women of color for women of color's sake, or it's not women for women's sake either, right? It is a particular kind of politic that they are pushing to represent women or women of color or African women, right? And so I think we see that with because I also think that there's a way that there's a viral sensationalism around the sassy woman. We see that with the Jasmine Crockett's, but then also with the stuff that Kamala has said. I think people are very taken by the tough talk of the gangs and the way she's talking about she's going to handle it. People are very taken by the way Mia Motley speaks about certain aspects of the West while still child with her. But So that's so those are the things that I think is just interesting about the ways. But what I do want to highlight in this is that there is, I don't want to say an awakening, right? Grassroots movement in the history of anti-imperialist movements and grassroots movement in the Caribbean is deep and strong, especially labor movements, especially in Trinidad and Tobago. So people are not to this. But I do think similar to here in the US, because the US and its Monroe Doctrine-esque backyard kind of relationship it has to the Caribbean, indoctrinates the Caribbean just the same as it indoctrinates us. I speak about MSNBC and CNN being played as news stations in the Caribbean. We don't get Trinidad Express here. You can't turn on your cable and get Trinidad Express. You can turn on cable in Trinidad and get CNN, right? So there's a way that these things kind of move. And you can see that with the ways that Carnival is even understood or misunderstood. What is a historically revolutionary liberation or liberatory experience is now reduced to ass. Right? Which is fine because mine be out. But but it's more than that. It's so much more than that. Pan, the history of Pan, the history of stick fighting, all of that is part of the Carnival. But it's also consumerism, right? And it's tourism. And that is what takes a hold. And that is how people come to understand it. And feathers, right?
Right.
People want to play mass because they want to get in the costume. They don't listen to soca. They don't care about calypso. They don't care about the history. They don't care about your damn country, honestly. They want to be in the feathers because it's nice and it's pretty. And that's not, the diaspora is guilty of that too. They don't know the history. But I say that to say I do think there's a value in the ways that we see people kind of taking it back. I appreciate mass bands like Lost Tribe in Trinidad and Tobago that have culturally stayed to like the making of the costumes and the way that the costumes are presented. And I appreciate those kind of bands that stick with it. But they are days long because each day represents a thing. Juve is an awakening. Juve is an experience. And Juve looks different. Like when you go to Grenada and you see them all in the black paint. Jab Jab has a different history in Grenada, but you won't see Jab Jab in Trinidad and Tobago. And I think there's a way that people just mash it all up, right? Because it's all a Caribbean kind of thing. But I say all that to say there's a way that we are seeing these grassroots organizations. We are seeing people kind of take back what that history is. And in that, we're seeing more people speak out against what their governments are doing. Not only in the sense of what's happening with their labor, what's happening with their their retirements and their social security. All these things have been gutted in the last 10 years across the Caribbean, right? But they're also saying, wait a minute, what's going on with Palestine? Are we responsible for that too? And what's going on in Haiti? We doing that? And what about Sudan? These are conversations that are on the forefront. These are protests that are growing. It means something to sue the government of Barbados. That's unprecedented. So we're seeing this movement grow. And I think the Zone of Peace in the U.S. out of the U.S. NATO out of the Americas network, those have been some of the ways that these conversations have been facilitated across the region. So I'll stop there.
I do have a question about Carnival, because honestly, that is not a history I'm that familiar with. And I bet you that most folks in this country in particular don't know the history. Is there, do you see more of an organized effort to lift this history up, to educate the people who attend Carnival? Is there that emerging in the Carnival celebrations that you've seen? Or is it just like exactly what you said? There are pockets of like grassroots holding on to and lifting up the history, but it's still kind of pockets.
It's pockets. I think I've just seen something in passing about the one in Canada, and folks wrote, I think somebody wrote an article about how that one started and the need to kind of revisit that because of what it is today. Claudia Jones is responsible for the one in London, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the history of that, which is not at all representative of Claudia Jones in the politics here, right? I do think there are instances where, because the stick fighting still exists, the pan fest still exists in those there's different experiences that still exist, but for the most part, it is a consumerist effort. My cousin wrote for Hood Communist, who was Carnival for in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Because for the people in Trinidad and Tobago can't really participate. So even in Trinidad, there's the big carnival that happens in Port of Spain and the big, and then there's, if you go down in the country, they have their own carnival, right? Because they can't, one, to travel up and back and forth, but then also they're getting priced out of the festivities that's in their own country. So and then even to the point of the little instances, I know on Labor Day weekend in New York, you will see the Haitians, especially 2016, they had their anti-Hillary things on the parkway. On the parkway behind the big truck. Like they had their anti-Hillary protest signs and things like that. So there are always those instances. It is always in that spirit. Carnival is about that. But I do think that there is I don't want to say a westernization of it, and maybe not, but there is a tourism aspect, probably akin to what Jamaica Kincaid speaks to in a small place that exists, that is overwhelming because you want people to come and experience it, right? But then it no longer becomes yours. It no longer becomes, it's not recognizable in some instances. Even the music to some extent is transforming. So the soca that my mother and they don't know this soca. I mean, they'll dance to it. It's good, but it's different. Also, I would also say Hood Communist Radio, and I believe that's still on Spotify. There was an episode that we did with my comrade Shauna Jamu. He's in a grassroots movement in Tobago, and we talked about the history of Trinidad and Tobago, Carnival, soca music, the liberation. He spoke with Talifu about that. So that's a really, really great episode for folks who are interested.
Nice. That's a lot of really interesting and really great history about something that we don't know about, that just looks like a big old party, but is more than that. And that's always fascinating to me, how much we don't know about our own relatives, really, like, and our different cultures, depending on where we were dropped off along the Meafa route, but how all of our cultures are connected in a way, not just their origins, but also in the way, and somebody said it in the chat, how our own culture is taken from us, gentrified, and then sold back to us.
Package, yep.
Yeah, repackaged and sold back to us at a price we can't afford, right? So that at that point, it's no longer our culture. And the fight to regain our culture is good. It's good to see that there is an effort to decolonize things that we didn't even realize had been colonized, like Carnival. So thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
And then even in the sense of New York, right, it is the culture of Brooklyn, I would say. And so to see what it has become, and even over the years in Brooklyn, like I grew up, my parents played mass in Labor Day. I grew up as a Carnival baby. My parents were part of the Utica Boys and that section. My aunt ran the Kitty Carnival until she couldn't do it no more. I was on the Parkway I played mass as a child. I was on the truck as a child. My father was, had the basket selling liquor on the Parkway. But what it is today, my uncle, his living on Nostrand between Linden and Lenox, that was always when people leave Easter Parkway, they go down Nostrand to my uncle's spot. Like that was, so I grew up in that sense, but it's not the same. Pan yards, like, with gentrification and people moving in, the community is smaller. They're like calling police on the pan yards where people are practicing pan. So that's an experience that's not, children don't get. You don't see as much Mojo Joby, which is the people on the sticks, the big sticks that walk. You don't see as much of that happening, where children, they had those yards in those areas in Brooklyn where you could go and learn how to do it, so you could participate in these festivals. But I say it's a part of the culture because it be Black Americans out there on that Parkway too. So even when I talk about, when people say things like, what does it have to do with us? When it comes to Carnival and all that, you don't know who's who, because everybody outside. Outside, and everybody's enjoying it. It's just these little kind of instances where there's definitely an intentional kind of division happening, right? That's happening where you don't see that in quote unquote reality. Because we're neighbors for the most part. Or we're all living on the same block in the same conditions. And so when these festivals happen, we're all outside. Like Easter Parkway is flooded with everybody. Juve, everybody outside. Well, whatever. They outside for a whole bunch of different reasons. In New York. But they outside nonetheless.
But they are outside enjoying the festivities.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I really appreciated that and breaking down like the different cultural aspects that have changed over the years, because I just thought Carnival was a big party. I think most people do. So we don't know that there's some serious history and some very deep African culture, African influenced culture behind all of it. And that's really dope. And you know who is also dope sometimes, even though we also don't understand him half the time? Ear Doctor. Yep.
Anyway, listen, it seems like the seamstresses for Carnival get all the money, because good Lord, them outfits cost like hundreds of dollars, right?
You would think that's the big to do. Shout out to Clive. This big scandal. People don't get paid.
What?
Yeah, every year Tribe not paying, allegedly.
Because those, I could just imagine how much time my mom was.
It's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time. That's a lot of detail.
Family in Miami. So the one in Miami started in the 80s, and my family, Wasi One, they were like one of the first mass bands in Miami. So my cousin Giselle, who's also a soca artist, she was the ambassador for Carnival in Miami for a few years. I do not think she is now. But yeah, my aunt makes like to do a section. So So a mass band would have multiple sections, and there would be designers responsible for each section. That's why you would see people in different costumes, but they're all in one they're walking with one truck. So everybody would have one different, but a section could be anywhere from 50 to 100 people, and all the costumes would be similar, but I don't have all of that. So my costume, I need a wire bra, I need this, I need that. So to do all of those individually is a lot. And you usually only have one or two people. It's not like a big production or a big team. And that also depends on like how big your band is. Because like bands like One Island is huge. And they'll have like 1,500 people in their mass band.
Wow. And it's crazy how America caught on so late to twerking. Like they've been doing that in the Caribbean and Africa for the longest.
It's not twerking. Oh God, don't do that.
Oh, come on. They do be twerking when
that's whining. Don't do that. Nobody twerk.
Oh, it's just a different name.
It's not. The hips don't move the same.
I think I have to agree.
Because people who can twerk,
you gotta agree with me, Jackie.
No, I don't agree with you.
Twerkers can't whine. It's a different kind of.
I agree. I think I agree. Technically,
it's a circular motion. I get it.
Yes, it's different.
Twerking is
the wine is and the wine isn't just circular. It has to be. You gotta. It's a little dip. It's think of
why don't you show us, Jackie, how you do it?
And this is
okay, wait a minute. Hold on.
All right. Let me put this, I was about to give you your own screen on this one.
You ain't gonna have my father calling me and abusing me. Nope. No.
Now I seen your show today,
No, but whining and twerk, they are different. They're different.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they're different.
They are. All right. Well, we got a guest coming still at the top of the hour. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why they not here?
Oh no, they're not here yet. I mean, we still got 4 minutes, even though I'm pretty sure you told them to come at 8:55. So let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll see if they make it. If not, okay, Sarah. All right, right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Wine. Hey. Let's get a little bit of that. Y'all ain't ready for that right there, man. Wake y'all asses up. It's time for the Remix Morning Show. Thank y'all for tuning in. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare. And where can you go to donate? At blkliberationmedia.org. Yes, please do that. That helps to keep this thing going. Now, I know a lot of people felt a certain way about the passing of Hulk Hogan. Yeah, eat your vitamins, baby. Yeah, a lot of people felt the way, but a lot of us didn't. Some of us didn't grow up, and some of us grew up in a time where he was calling blacks the N-word, as they would say. So I was like, yo, what about other people that we can big up that's in wrestling? And I thought about this sister right here. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Jacqueline Moore. Jacqueline DeLewis Moore. Yes, she was a professional wrestler, and she was a manager. She was working with the WWE, and she still is under a Legends contract, but she was with them from 97 to 98, and also with Total Nonstop Action Wrestling as a wrestler, manager, and a road agent. She began back in working with the World Class Championship Wrestling, and she was a 14-time USWA Women's Champion. She moved from doing that wrestling, and she wound up managing the Harlem Heat. Now, Harlem Heat also was a tag team that won the championship a couple times. And what she did is she reestablished the WWF Women's Championship, where she held it twice with the WWF. And in 1999, she formed the All-Female Alliance. So she was out here just making stuff happen. She also was a referee, a trainer, and she also held the Cruiserweight Championship that was usually held by men. Also, let me let you know, on April the 2nd, 2016, she was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. So she's been doing her thing. So when we talk about wrestling, if we're going to get props, let's give it to this sister right here, Jacqueline Moore. All right, with that said, let's get back to it right here on the Remix Morning Show. Yeah. All right. Y'all felt the way about Hulk Hogan?
I hate that bastard. What the?
Get your vitamins, brother.
Man, screw him, his family, all of them. How could you call him a racist at this time? Boy, just because he's dead, it doesn't mean he wasn't a racist. He's still a racist. He's just a dead one now.
His daughter said, "Take me out of the will. I don't want no parts of him." I was like, damn.
Well, of course she would.
Shit, I would want some of that will money though. Even if he was some shit.
She all right. She all right.
Yeah, I guess so.
Is she?
Huh?
Well, in some ways, probably not. We can't help her in those.
She's a white woman. She'll be all right. I mean,
I used to watch a reality show.
Oh,
see,
Be a pop
this is
star.
look, when these old folks, when these old white musicians, actors, athletes, when they start croaking, all of their little reality shows that I watched. And so when Ozzy Osbourne died, that's why I ain't saying nothing about that man, because
yeah.
him and his family were trash, and we all saw it on that reality show
Mm.
that all of y'all folks didn't watch and don't remember. We saw these
Oh,
folks.
I don't know that nobody didn't watch that. That was highly rated. That show stayed on.
Yeah, Osbourne's, that
It
thing
did.
was around for a long time. Like, how y'all don't remember?
Yeah. He out here eating bats and shit.
Well, that wasn't even a big deal. I was like, okay, that was okay. No, it was the racism and yeah.
That's crazy work right there. All right. Well, I guess it's time for our guests. They have arrived. So let me get up out the way and let y'all do your thing. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to the guests, I did want to just highlight, I don't know if folks can see, this book is Caliban and the Yankees, Trinidad, the United States occupation. So it talks
Well,
about
if
the
you
years
took that blur off, we could see it.
Relax. They can see it right here. There we go.
I'm looking it up. I'm gonna put it in the chat.
See it? So it talks about the occupation of Trinidad and Tobago when the U.S. occupied it, and then also Trinidad Carnival. So this goes into a bit of a detail about the history of Trinidad Carnival, and how it became and where it is. So if folks are interested in that, I can put that who the author is and in the chat. But yes, since we just had this healthy discussion about my beloved Twin Islands.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. We're going to drop that in the chat for our folks. But our guests are here, so let's get to this interview. Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is Wednesday, July 30th. Good God, this month is over with. Okay, I'm having a little bit of existential dread, but hey, look at our comrades here to talk about a fantastic and exciting topic. So I'm going to have my existential crisis because it's the end of the month and there's a tsunami, a volcano, a heat dome, a genocide, another genocide, and other things. And let's get into talking about this topic with our comrade, Sister Sheena, in BAP Baltimore, and Milan Harris, also from BAP Baltimore. BAP. Y'all do what y'all do.
Peace. So yes, we have Sister Sheena and Milan here. And okay, here, I see you.
She just did that. I know you just did that, Milan.
No, they're here to talk about the petition. So I want to say July 18th, I believe it was, that you all have released a petition. It is the people of release, demilitarize Baltimore. So I'm going to read some of the petition demands, and then we're going to talk about it. So in the petition, it states, while Mayor Brandon Scott celebrates declining homicide rates, the Baltimore Police Department has murdered 3 Black residents in just 2 weeks. This exposes Baltimore City's reliance on militarized policing, the lack of value of Black and working class lives, and the colonial relationship where the police are the occupation force tasked with the responsibility to control and contain the surplus colonized populations into zones of non-being. These killings, execution-style shootings, ambush responses, and violent encounters with people in crisis reflect the deadly exchange programs that train Baltimore officers in tactics imported from Israel and U.S. war zone. So in that petition, it's a little wordy. But I do want folks to go and read it. In the petition, it states that people in Baltimore must break free from the political duopoly to build safe, self-determined communities. Decades of reform have only brought more state violence masked by empty consent decrees and hollow boasts of low crime from officials. So BAP Baltimore demands terminate the deadly exchange programs and partnerships with the racist fascist Israeli occupation forces and the 1033 program and all militarized terror forces in our communities and Operation Relentless Pursuit in all city, state, and national police and intelligence agency partnerships and no cop city or any police expansion. So I did want to start off by asking why you all thought it was important to release a statement at this time.
I can start with so of course the flagship campaign of the Black Alliance for Peace is No Compromise, No Retreat. And the police repression, the police militarization, and the police presence throughout this region, but specifically Baltimore City, especially with this being 10 years since Freddie Gray, which the collective memory goes Mike Brown, skips Freddie Gray, leaps to George Floyd. And it's important that we realize why there wasn't a George Floyd response here, because immediately after Freddie Gray, they swooped in with all of the surveillance tech, with all of the armored vehicles, with all of the police funding that brings us to this current place where now it's just open season. And the response from leadership is in step with police leadership. There has been no public comment from Mayor Brandon Scott objecting to the treatment of poor and working class African Black people in Baltimore City. Instead, he's on a national tour celebrating violence reduction in the city because of efforts of, I don't know how to categorize them. I just see him being pushed on my feed that he's working so hard with all these existing programs that have the youth off of the streets, as if youth are the only people suffering from violence in the city. A 70-year-old woman was shot and killed by police. That's not youth violence. That's police terror. And so it's important that we actually push this petition because this pulls the masses into our fight. We, being part of the masses, are not simply saying no compromise, no retreat to ourselves, because it's more than a slogan. It is actually a campaign. We have to win this so that we can win peace for ourselves in these occupied communities. And I hope that answered it.
And I just want to piggyback on that and say, with that current narrative that's in the media right now, people in Baltimore also don't even realize it's happening. You know, me and Sheena were out at a mobilization and some kids that were out there didn't even know that 3 people had been killed. That Bilal Abdullah had been killed shot 38 times. So I think it is really important that we are pushing this petition and this campaign, this No Compromise, No Retreat campaign, because we have to highlight this contradiction of, oh, this crime is going down, come to Baltimore, come to Wakanda, come to this Black Mecca where you can be saved, right? And the police are killing multiple people in a week, right? They're killing people execution style. They are doing these tactics that are so brutal and so heavily influenced and learned from these Israeli genocidaires. So I think it's really important that right now that we are pushing this so we can kind of combat this narrative of people highlighting something that is actively killing us, right? We are actively being killed and persecuted and surveilled by the state and by the Baltimore Police Department. And it's something that is getting covered up with the rhetoric that is floating around about Brandon Scott reducing crime in Baltimore, quote unquote.
Yeah, as y'all were just mentioning, so he's on a national tour, Mayor Brandon Scott, and touting reduced crime rates. And we're seeing that not only does the Baltimore Police Department participate in the deadly exchange programs, but the training with the U.S. forces and U.S. military units alongside ICE continues to terrorize Black and working class communities. So how do you all explain this sort of escalation when you're talking to people about the petition? how do you explain the escalation of execution style shootings, these no knock raids in Baltimore, and how does it reflect a broader strategy of the city governance sort of managing this with, rather than eliminating it, kind of pushing these programs, right? He's talking so much about the programs that are being used, but how does that sort of maintain these sort of zones of non-being, these programs?
Yeah, I can start. So I think first it points to this overarching connection that we have of our shared struggle. So the local really connects to the global, because these imperialist states, these settler colonies, they are sharing their tactics of brutality. So not just the fact that they're sharing how to kill us, they're sharing weapons, they're sharing intelligence and information, and they're sharing surveillance techniques. We get a lot of surveillance technology from Israel. And that's not just here, that is in the Dominican Republic with the Haiti border, right? Those things are happening in Kenya, in Haiti, in Palestine. So we are very much connected to the global struggle of our siblings who are also going through these repressive and oppressive tactics. And again, 3 people were murdered execution style with no knock raids in a span of 8 days, which is wild to me. Like in 8 days, 3 people were killed of all different age ranges. And these are not anomalies. These are not one-offs. These are not things that are just happening in Baltimore, just happening in Palestine, right? These are intentional methods of control. These are intentional methods of repression, and intentional acts of war. And that's not hyperbolic to say in Baltimore. You can go outside and you'll see cops literally dressed like they are going to war. Because they are, right? This is not an exaggeration. And then to the zone of known being part, for me, I really think about like these concept of these open air prisons where movement is controlled and contained. So these are spaces both here in Gaza, in so many different locations, right? Where there are spaces of dehumanization, there are spaces of dispossession, of really intentional and strategic alienation. And those spaces are upheld and controlled by the occupying force in the region, which in this case is the Baltimore Police Department. And so their function is not to protect, their function is not to help people out, their function is to control, to maintain that violence. They don't want to eliminate that violence. They want to control their colonial subjects through violence and with violence. And that violence is embedded into these occupying forces. This is happening again to Kenyans in Kenya. This is happening to Haitians because of the Kenyan police. That is happening here. This is happening in Palestine through the Israeli occupational forces. And so they are seeking to contain these communities, both in these internal colonies and through the jail and prison system, through surveillance, through terror, through just really horrible violence that we see and witness every day. And I think it also prevents any possible, or attempts to prevent any possible resistance that is bred in these zones of non-being. Like Sheena referenced, after the 2015, the Freddie Gray uprisings, the repression that followed has led to what's happening now in Baltimore, and it has continued. So that repression has not been solved, right? It's gotten worse. And so I think that is another function of what these shared tactics are doing with each other and what these shared oppressors are doing together. And I'll yield there.
But Sister Sheena and Milan, you all are sitting here talking about all of these awful things in Baltimore, and y'all have a Black mayor, Black prosecutors. You got Black, isn't the police chief? I can't remember.
No, that man white. That's a white
Okay,
man.
that's right. Yeah, because the police chiefs, they be moving.
Yeah,
they move police chiefs around. They move police chiefs around like the Catholic Church moves pedophile priests around. That's how it works. That's why you saw a couple of former DC police chiefs end up in Philadelphia, in Baltimore, in Chicago, and so. But you had progressive prosecutors, and you have all of this Black excellence in the government, in the infrastructure of Baltimore. So how is it that crime is still a problem and repression is also still a problem with all of this Black excellence in leadership in Baltimore, Sister Shana? How?
Well, as you know, misleadership has a stronghold on this region like nobody's business. And it's funny that you would mention like the next man up type of moves that they make with police chiefs. Out in PG County, their police chief was just replaced because they were looking at him in Phoenix. The next man up was an old white man, and he has the job given to him by the former state's attorney, who is now the county executive. So in the case of Baltimore City, Brandon Scott has no interest in removing Richard Worley. What Richard Worley does after every incident is say, I completely stand by my officers responded doing the right thing. Meanwhile, I think the immediate comment from Brandon Scott was, we need to have better crisis response, which again is not a, condemnation of the actions of police. It is instead a soft step outside of the conversation being had, because people are outraged that a man was killed in such extreme fashion in the case of Bilal. And the fact that he said, we need better crisis response after the 70-year-old woman was shot and killed, even though a report saying that the officers themselves escalated the situation. And he said, crisis response, no criticism of the police because he's too busy celebrating reduced crime. There's also the fact that he said violence is a public health crisis, but not the overdoses and the drug problem and the homelessness and the food deserts. And all of these things should be considered a public health crisis, as they are. But these programs that he's bragging about, that he's boasting about, like, you're not hearing the city councilors spearheading this. You're hearing Brandon Scott. You are hearing Brandon Scott for a reason. You are not hearing other actors. He is standing with people who may not be elected officials to give the illusion of the people are supporting this. Whatever PR push he's receiving online is not something that I can say anybody on the streets of Baltimore, where I actually organize, has anyone come up to me and said, Brandon Scott's doing a great job? No, because he is not engaged with the people of Baltimore City. And I'm being asked by people online where this stuff is targeted for a reason. Like, oh, I hear he's doing good things out there. You would. If you lived out here, if you saw out here the crumbling infrastructure, the fact that there are so many people on the street, the groups of squeegee boys who are trying to earn a living because there is no real opportunity for them. What programs is he talking about for the youth? What programs is he talking about that meet those material needs, those root causes of quote unquote crime that don't go addressed with a nonprofit, with an initiative from the mayor, with a Black man taking photos at an event that isn't sustainable, especially because he's done as mayor after the second term ends? What happens to those programs that no longer can bear his name? Do those projects die? They appear to, but not a Cop City project that Nick Mosby wanted, because that will live forever.
No, I appreciate both of you noting. One, Sheena said the collective memory, the collective historical memory, which I've been speaking about a lot lately, or lack thereof, does track from Mike Brown to George Floyd, right? So we do, in many instances, forget the Freddie Gray, especially in the past 10 years, because one of the things that that came out of or resulted from the Freddie Gray murder was the consent decree. So a lot of these programs that he's speaking to, even the proposal for Cop City, is a result of that consent decree, the more training, etc. But what we're seeing in terms of the crisis response is that they're failed programs. They're not working programs. They're also not programs that are facilitated by the people, right? So there's a lot of money going into these programs. So we're to like these proposals for the dollar homes. We're supposed to buy back a home, or using blockchain for the home. So like all of these these AI tech things for the children, and ways to get children to do free labor by teaching them trainings, and now children are building homes. But this is all of the ways that we kind of are seeing these programs work. But to Sheena's point, this is his second term. And the administration continues to rely on the policing, with naming violence as a health crisis, and this criminalizes poverty, and then in turn criminalizes Blackness. So while he's celebrating this decline, because he's also on his way out, right? So this is a good way to go out. And we're seeing that this can't really be reconciled with the reality of the situation. What is BAP Baltimore's role?
I think, one, BAP Baltimore's role is to engage with people, right? We have a town hall coming up August 16th, actually talking about things similar to this, talking about political prisoners, but I think it's directly correlated, because if you do try to dissent, right, if you do try to resist the repression or the oppression that you're facing, you will be targeted with death, with jail, with terror and violence. So one, talking to the community, getting engaged with our community, ensuring that we are actually listening to, what the people in these communities are saying. To the point of the consent decree, last September, I was talking or canvassing, and there were some maybe like 14-year-olds, and we're talking about the police, and they're saying the same things that my friend said however many years ago, right? They're saying the same things that were said when my parents were young, right? The police don't care about us. They treat us horribly because we're Black. And so this report came out in 2016 of the racism and the police abuse that's happening in Baltimore. And the people in Baltimore are still saying the same thing. They are not talking about the crime reduction rates in these programs. They're talking about we're still being harassed and terrorized by this police state. So yeah, that's something that BAP is engaged with, and kind of highlighting those contradictions, talking to people about what's happening. We have this petition that we are pushing to demilitarize the police, because as we've said throughout this entire interview, it is something that is super urgent. It's something that is needed to contradict this narrative that is being pushed all over social media, that is not the narrative that is actually happening and not the reality of what's impacting Baltimoreans. And I think it's going to be even more important that this work and these types of things continue, as a $1 billion jail is going to be built here in Baltimore. The Cop City is $330 million. And some of our schools still don't have heat. Some of our schools still don't have air, right? But we have all this money that is going into this increased militarization, increased policing. And as that's happening, we have the Mayor Scott saying, come to Wakanda and come and displace these people. And as we displace these people, we are going to be terrorizing the undesirables. So I think this is very important that we're pushing this position, and that we are continuing to have these conversations. But that is some of the things that BAP is doing. I don't know if Sister Sheena has any additional comments.
Of course I do. And I want to emphasize the role of political education. Our role as organizers, our role as the masses, is to not only educate ourselves, but to effectively communicate the need to educate as many people as possible. So this is a tool to organize our people. In this piece that is on the petition, if you look at the petition, it outlines the relationship that Israel and the U.S. have in exchanging tactics of repression. When we talk about deadly exchange is a program that basically gives law enforcement agencies around this country, that can be a local, that can be a statewide, that can be a federal agency, training with the Israeli occupation forces. And Baltimore Police Department is a part of that deadly exchange. They're also a part of the 1033 program, where they can acquire surplus military equipment, so that when we do see their beefed up presence at mobilizations and actions, those MRAPs, those Bearcats, those vehicles that have been disarmed just enough to be used in residential neighborhoods like they were. If you've watched Do Not Resist, they were using them, quote unquote. They're not supposed to be using them actually to break up riots. They're specifically not supposed to be using that. But that's what they were doing with them in Ferguson. That's what they did with them in 2015 when the National Guard was deployed to Baltimore City to bust up that Freddie Gray action. So learning those repressive tactics. If you remember about a year ago out here, there was a viral video of a Baltimore police officer pressing his gun to a Black man's temple, on the street. And immediately afterwards, once again, Richard Worley was just like, I don't see what the officers did wrong. That is the constant terror that people are in. That is the terror that Palestinians face at those checkpoints. Everywhere is technically a checkpoint in Baltimore City, because you cannot go but so many feet without seeing a Baltimore police vehicle. And even if they're not like manned, there can be no one in it. The lights are on, they're highly visible, and they're there to remind you that you can only go so far. The restriction of movement is real. The idea of traveling into certain places is not because people are afraid of each other. Police repression is so ramped up that you are better not taking the chance that you're going to get accosted by an officer, because the criminalization of presence. I love that Dedan put that video up, speaking of how you are African, you are criminalized, because under white supremacy, under capitalism, that is the inherent relationship to us in this system. So when we move too far out of line, like let's say there's a labor issue, here come the cops. There's a housing issue, the sheriff is there to kick you out. They are so tied into every aspect, and they're talking about street level crime. The children are stealing, the children are at the harbor, the children are here. But the children also have to rely on public transit to get to school, because where's the funding for that? There are no buses coming to get the children. So the children are being neglected while the mayor is celebrating how much he's doing for the youth. Another school season is about to start. And these same children are going to fall through the cracks because the police budget is so expansive and eats up all of the funding that the city has. And so what do the children, what do the families, what do the poor, what do the working class have for themselves, except another temporary misleader who will be swapped out with the next one? And I hope it's not Sheila Dixon tossing her hat in there again, because I know Erica gets on her. She's just allowed to run for running sake.
Like Sheila. It's her favorite pastime. No, I appreciate this context that you're giving, because even when we talk about the checkpoints and things like that, I do think it's important that, like, again, the collective historical memory. If folks recall when the officer was murdered in that alley during that trial where all those officers were supposed to go, he was supposed to testify against the rest of his department, and he wound up dead in the alley. And that was Thanksgiving week, and that entire block was not allowed to enter their own homes without ID. And, allegedly a cop did that, right? That's what has always been suspected for a plethora of reasons. But the neighborhood was criminalized and the neighborhood was punished. And this is Thanksgiving week. Imagine not being able to go to and from your home. Even to Milan's point, the amount of money that is being spent on Operation Relentless Pursuit, which gives the city $2 million for federal agents. Why? Right? In addition to the $330 million Stop Cop City, the addition to the amount of money that goes into the 1033 program that Morgan State and Coppin State have access to. We are seeing these homes are deteriorating, and there's no, especially in West Baltimore, and the only incentive to change anything happening in West Baltimore is to displace everyone there, right? Because they're closing down all the jobs around there. Like Target was a major workplace for that area, and they closed the Target down. They're inviting more police officers. They're expanding the University of Baltimore. And this is Nick Mosby's quote unquote legacy project, right? To revamp West Baltimore, which most people understand through The Wire, Right. So if that's your image of West Baltimore, so you could see a Nick Mosby, who is no longer city council, but his legacy with Cop City, etc., still lives. And you can see with Mayor Scott, what they are trying to do is create this fictitious Black Mecca, this Wakanda that exists in these cities, not dissimilar from the language in Atlanta, not dissimilar to what we have seen with any of these Black mayors who try to dress up the actual reality of what's happening to the Black people that are being pushed out of the city through and by and with consent from Black leadership. So I do appreciate that you all have raised those points and gave a lot of the context to why this petition is necessary. And lastly, is the petition the end all be all? Is there plans to further this out?
So the petition is not the end all be all. We do have to be outside getting signatures on this petition, but in that being outside and talking directly with the people of Baltimore City, there is a goal to actually build a broader network, a coalition, in fact, for, I was going to say community control, but it's actually community defense. Because honestly, if we are saying that all of these things make us feel unsafe, and there's a restriction of us actually being able to talk to ourselves about it and talk with each other about it, because it's not just as simple as we need to get rid of the cops. Getting rid of the cops isn't going to like magically make all of the core issues that we talked about disappear. That food desert's still going to be there. You know, that lack of medical care is still going to be there. While people might think that getting rid of one thing is the answer, it doesn't put those things that are necessary to be in place there. So to work within the community with the public that is being underserved, that is being terrorized, that is being put through hell by misleadership and their disciples, because the armed agents of the state do not answer to the people. They just now started answering to Baltimore City officials again as of early this year, because Baltimore City PD, nobody knew who had control over Baltimore City PD. So the people have to become their own liberators in a sense, but with that comes the responsibility of defending yourselves once you have liberated yourselves. Like, there is no such thing as an undefended revolution that sustains itself and lasts. And we need to transform conditions drastically. We don't need more reforms. We don't need more legacy projects. Sorry for the nonprofit people out there. We don't need some more, well-intended funding white people to say, here's some money for an after-school program, but there are schools also closing because they're being privatized. So we actually do need to work with the people to form a community defense coalition so that we can show ourselves this is not the way we keep us safe. We're being told cops keep us safe, but they're the ones putting their knee in your neck and harassing you and running through your pockets and taking you to jail. And there is an ICE center in Baltimore City. So they're taking you to the ICE center in Baltimore City too. They're in those neighborhoods creating the fear that grips neighborhoods, that does restrict people from actually being in community with one another in the first place. So once we break through that, I don't call it a paralysis, but once we break through that, intimidation and stop being afraid to have each other's back, a lot more can be accomplished. So no, the petition is hardly the end all be all, but it's definitely a step in the right direction, because it's a gateway into having these conversations, because it not only gives you the opportunity to exchange ideas, but it gives real-time feedback. I know you remember when we were in the carryout and the brother said, I mean, if you really want to be honest about what we need. And when we were talking to the young bulls out there last week, he was like, y'all trying to riot? I was like, I love the energy, pal, but we got to get organized.
That brother was ready to strap us up and have us out. We're like, wait, hold on.
Let's do some education first.
We're not trying to raise up a generation of war criminals. Because
can't get too far ahead of the masses now, brother. We with you, but we ain't there yet.
And the gap without political education, that's That's we don't do that here.
No, I deeply appreciate that response or that answer. Jackie, I didn't know if you had anything that you want to close us out with.
Yeah, I just really wanted to thank you all for the work that you do in BAP Baltimore. I always say, as you know, the former regional coordinator for the Mid-Atlantic, Baltimore gave me whiplash. Like, yo, are they doing something else? Jesus. It has been like a huge joy and an inspiration, and just like the best thing in the world to see the principles of organizing work itself out in real life. That's what being in BAP has been like for me. It's like, oh, this is organizing. Oh, this is being outside. This is talking to the people, and seeing it and living out the principles, doing that work and seeing it pay off, seeing it grow. And not just in more members in BAP Baltimore, BAP DC, BAP Mid-Atlantic, but in the raising of the level of consciousness and understanding of y'all. That has been, woo, for me, that's just like, I'm having emotions. This is the beauty of organizing, though, y'all. This is both the beauty, and what they explain to you is the science. The outcome of organizing is this kind of development. The outcome for the organizer is this kind of sharpness, this clarity. That's what we get from doing this work. But what our people get is the raising of the collective consciousness, moving us that much closer toward revolution. And we appreciate y'all so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
That means you too, Miss Erica, because you did. This is you.
No, this is. I'm not. They don't even see me. They.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. You
this
know.
Is all them. They don't even
can't take a compliment neither. So.
My fearless leaders. I would be nowhere without your fearless leadership. Erica's going to get on me, but I can't thank you enough for the high praise, because I definitely don't feel like I got it all, but I'm getting it.
And I have nothing. I'm just here.
Please. Anyway.
And then also look out, I think the teaching that Milan was a part of on Anti-imperialism will be on BAP Baltimore's Black Alliance for Peace YouTube. I guess that's like a Freudian slip that we might need our own YouTube since we're producing so much work. We'll see. But yeah, thank you all so much. I deeply appreciate it. Extremely proud of the work, and continue to move the petition. No compromise, no retreat.
No compromise, no retreat.
All right, there we go. Nice. All these sisters on the screen. I thought I was watching an episode of Harlem.
This nigga here.
What?
You know?
Oh, you don't know about Harlem? You don't know about Harlem, Jackie?
What she said was a making good character.
Yeah, you got the hair like her. See, Jackie, it's like a bunch of children. No, it's like a Sex in the City with black sisters. That's all.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
What?
Am I wrong, Erica?
The city is Sex in the City. And then there's Hall.
But I was just trying to get, a reference. Reference there. Anyway.
Bumping the tables.
Some of my favorite sisters on the screen, it's all good.
I know. You were so excited when I told you Goddess Crew was coming.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You should see all the gifts and all that was popping off in the
my favorite. Lord, I love when people push me. Yeah.
Is that why you do what you do to other people? Is that
what do I do, Jackie, to other people?
Trickle down. You are the agent provocateur.
Me? I'm the
Yeah.
guy that just does what I do, and people just have their opinions. And
Every agent provocateur has said that of
And-
themselves.
I like to shoot back. I like to shoot back. That's all. That's how I hit him. Anyway. All right, let's take a quick, real quick break, and then we could come back to some more. Let me ask y'all a quick question before we do take this break. What's y'all thoughts on this that me and Kim will be doing tomorrow? Who you got here? Classical breakdown music 101.
How you came up with this?
Jody.
You came up with this. How is this a compare? How could you do such a thing?
Jody Watley versus Billy Ocean, y'all. Come on.
I love Billy Ocean, but it's Jody.
Oh my goodness.
I love Billy. I love it, but it's Jody. And they're gonna be playing around here soon. I think I need to go see them. It's Jody.
Billy Ocean.
Yeah, I say nobody listening to you.
Hey, lion time, Billy Ocean. Y'all sleeping on Billy.
Patriarchy is giving you
letting in here.
Who's
on the door?
It's just
on the door letting these people in here.
Well, listen. Suddenly, life has no meaning to me. There is beauty up above and things you never take notice of. Wake up and suddenly you're in love.
And that ain't even how it happened, though.
Ooh! Boy, what?
No.
We're going to have a good time tomorrow, so make sure y'all tuned in for that.
That's why I'm looking for a new love, baby. A new love. Baby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm looking for some new friends because they ain't hard to find.
Oh, my God. Ooh.
Yo, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back right here on the Order to the Remix Morning Show, y'all. Let's do it. Life of the party. Yeah. Big up, everybody. Thank y'all for tuning in. This is the Remix Morning Show. Hit that like, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare, and donate where at blkliberationmedia.org. That is where you donate to keep this thing going. We are demonetized as a channel because we be bringing that fire. All right. So, boom. Let's talk about it. We got a bunch of dope shows here on on Black Liberation Media. One of the shows that you should be checking out is the Black Miss Podcast. And they just had a guest on the Black Miss Podcast. And let's see what they're talking about when it comes to this fight. Is it our fight or not?
So before we get into kind of the background of specifically on immigration, which we're talking about primarily, I guess I'm just curious how you understand this sentiment. You know, what factors are driving this growing sentiment among our people, where it seems to be this like, well, this isn't our fight. We're going to sit out. You know, they didn't vote for Trump, or they didn't vote for Kamala, or, you know, they had their chance. It was vague. So I guess just curious, what do you think are some of the driving factors of this sentiment that seems to be rising?
So personally, I think there are a couple of driving factors. Some that I think about often when folks talk about, well, you know, you should have voted for Kamala, this is what you get, that is what I mostly detect is people operating from a place of despair and hopelessness, that you didn't get what you wanted. So now we are placing blame, right? So this is everyone else's fault, except for the fault of those who are actually positioned to, I guess you could say, like, run this country. And I think another place is just pure anti-Blackness, which we have, you know, racial capitalism to blame for, right? And the ideology of white supremacy. This idea that we ought to be operating in very individualistic ways and not be concerned about things that happen to or matter to others. And so I think that, unfortunately, through a lot of American exceptionalism and U.S. propaganda, our folks have been propagandized and have been taught that, you know, what's happening to them over there is not our concern. We need.
Oh, man, it's a lot more. You got to go catch the rest. I can't give it all to you right here. You got to go watch the whole full episode. So go do that right here on Black Liberation Media. That is the Black Miss Podcast with two Black and guest Kim Moore. All right, with that said, let's get back to it right here on the Remix Morning Show.
Life of the party, rise up, one take calling me. They call me the life of the party.
Michelle Montano. That's who that was.
I was practicing my wine. Mm-hmm.
Well, you need some cheese. You need some cheese with that wine there.
Oh boy, listen. It's BAP, not the little one. That was Kim Moore from BAP SoCal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was that sister that was at the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
The mask be hiding some things. You never know what's underneath them.
What do you say? Sir?
I appreciate black women with nice lips. That's all.
Okay. The next story. I don't want this to go any farther than let's just say thank you for the compliment.
Right, you put it, Leah. He got all sultry. You're like, all right, let's wrap this up. Let's wrap this up.
Like, let's not. No.
No,
yeah.
I wanted to say, even to your point that you were talking to Sheena and Milan, like it wasn't even that I wasn't, well, probably do have some issues taking taking compliments. All right, enough. But it is them. So even when you were talking about, how much work they've been doing, one of the things that I've been stressing, even because now I don't really, and I don't want to say I don't deal with BAP Baltimore. I deal with them like I deal with any other of the citywide alliances or the regionals. But I'm not on a day-to-day every day. That is, Sheena's a coordinator, Petrus is a coordinator, Milan. Like they are running that without me. So this petition is them. The toolkit is them. These town halls have been them, and this has been for the majority of the year. So I think one of the things that when we talk about organizing is the ability to organize organizers. Like my ability to be able to have stepped away when I was previously carrying so much, and now I'm not carrying any of it.
Now you're carrying a whole bunch of other stuff.
Right. And so a lot of that is from, I mean, it would seem that they are doing a lot, right? Especially your programs, but a lot of this is not programs for programs' sake. The programs in itself has been the training for them. What does it mean for every town hall, they have to put together a trifold, which means for every trifold is new information. That's them learning how to write and learning how to write succinctly. Milan, like I said, did that teach-in with a member who that was out of a proposal that they wanted to do because they walked past Domino Sugar every day and say, what does that, we're working on this zone of peace stuff. How does that correlate? And so that became a teach-in with DPC. So it is a way that they have grown into their own confidence as organizers, because really to get them on these screens and stuff, they were like,
oh no, that was a fight. Oh look,
no. And they're like, it. No,
exactly. And this is why I always, or I try to always raise the benefit of organizing, not externally to the people, because we talk about that all the time. But I always like to talk about the benefit of being in an organization for the people in organization, because if you're serious about it, if you pay attention to the work that you're doing, and if you are open to growth, you will grow, you will mature, your analysis will sharpen if you're open to that in organization. I think people develop in different ways, in different at different levels, at different paces, and for different reasons. Like there are people in organization who aren't involved at all, and they don't develop, and that's fine. They may come out to support a thing, or they just might support the organization with their dues. Okay, fine. That's great. But there are people in organization who are in organization to be actively involved. And they're coming thinking that I want to do something, and not even thinking about the impact the organization will have on them. And they're the people who become the Sheenas and the Milans and the Petroses and the Elons in the chat. You knew I was coming to you.
Right.
The Elons and the Kais and the Breeze and the
and Octavian.
Look, and Ajamu Baraka hiding in the chat there. I know he's there. So, you know, as much as I always like to lift up the fact that those of us who have these platforms and we're on here running our mouths, this is not like natural to us. This is not something that we woke up and decided I must do this. No, we wanted to do something to confront the challenges that we face. We got involved in organization and we grew. And that's why we're in this position. We're not in this position because we're special or we're unique or we're smarter or better than everybody else. No, we're in this position because we are serious about the organization that we are a part of. And we allowed ourselves to grow because of the organization we're a part of. And I mean, I think that's a fantastic thing. I love seeing how people in the organization develop, how we grow, and where we grow too, because we don't all grow with the same skill sets. And I think that's really important to highlight, that the benefit of organization is not just to organize our people. That's obviously the goal and the aim, but the benefit to organization is also should be a personal benefit. It should also uplift you. And if you're not growing, if you're not maturing in a way, I got to kind of wonder what you're doing in the organization, and I got to kind of wonder about you.
I actually don't. I think Sheena knows. Sheena was like, I don't care why people are not doing a thing. I delay that. That always is the least of my worries. I am concerned with what you're doing when you're around. Are you, like, if you have been tasked with tabling, are you talking to the people as they're walking in the door? Are you making sure people are signing up? Or you just sit at the table talking to people? Like, you know, those are the kind of things I'm like, well, you know, that's not what the tabling is for. But like, if you never show up to a meeting or you never come to a thing, people have their reasons, and people are people. Right. People have their own lives, and I can't be concerned. But when you're visible and you're not doing shit, then it's like, all right, what we doing? Mm-hmm. Yes. That's when it's the time to kind of intervene and ask some questions. But no, okay. It is play. It's set up so you can play it, sir. We're reading producer's notes. Sorry, it's confusion.
What I was just saying, lead into it so I can play it.
You should set segue, not set it up. I'm like, it is set up. What do you mean? It's just hit play.
The importance of organization. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, to the point. Again, when I mentioned earlier, I'm not around as much, and then I was asked to come in last minute for this migration webinar, and that town hall that they did, and from that, whatever I had spoken to, they have created this video about Baltimore. So want folks to see it, check it out, because it's another way that they're thinking about moving the petition, because like we named earlier, people learn it different ways. So here's some propaganda.
The Black people, all women, everybody that's being looked down and pushed down upon, that, especially those that live in those states below Maryland, come to Wakanda. Move to Maryland, move to Baltimore. This is your personal invitation. We're going to continue to work with our group violence reduction strategy, with our focus of our police department on the folks who are bringing in guns into our community, using our guns in our community, with our community violence intervention ecosystem, to have those folks out there bringing peace messages and helping us with conflict that will result in violence. All of it matters all the time. There's not one thing.
If folks have not seen the last couple of weeks, the mayor has been on a national tour, talking about the progress made in the city as it relates to the decrease in crime. So the crime rates have decreased, and this is a big deal for Baltimore City as a major city, and it is exemplary in terms of mainstream media. So he has been on CNN, he has been on MSNBC, to make it around. At the same time, 3 people were murdered by Baltimore police within 2 weeks of each other, including a 7-year-old woman in her home. So this just underscores the way that we understand quote-unquote crime, right? Because crime only counts when it is depicted as the citizens or residents of the city who are the ones carrying it out, right? It is not a crime to kill those residents. And if you have been in these town halls, if you have been coming to our teachings, if you've been following along what we have been doing as a citywide alliance structure the last 4 years, we have emphasized ending the 1033, ending the deadly exchange, ending Operation Relentless Pursuit, which gives the federal funding to the city to allow for more police. We've also talked about the Cop City proposal. We have supported the teachers union and Hawkins, talking about the private police force. We have been very intentional about circulating and having it understood the connection between the amount of money and support that goes into the policing and what is actually happening in the city.
Yep, that's the kind of stuff that you produce when you have folks who are serious organizers, and that's what we do. So thank y'all so much. Yeah. Oh, real quick.
All right, can I just say something? I just see my cousin in the chat who, listen, big surprise. Shout out to my cousin because he does not really enter these spaces. So that was a big surprise to see him in here, drawing people in. So thank you for showing up.
Hey, thank you so much.
And he's a dope chef in New York, by the way. So go check out Chef Wavy, of course. Brooklyn.
Wavy. Right. Like Max B, he wavy.
Listen.
Yo, apologies for my production talk. Sometimes, Ricky, I know you don't get it, but yeah, usually set up is a volley into the video.
Oh, Lord.
So anyway, Darker Than Blue, what we got coming up this week?
I'm gonna do what did I say I was gonna do? I forgot. I don't know. Anyway, Friends of the Hague group is a coalition that launched last week, that the Black Alliance for Peace was instrumental in being a co-founder of a year ago. And the official launch was done last week in Bogota, Colombia. And tomorrow, I think I'm going to have Adrian Pine on, and I believe Adamo Baraka, I hope, to talk about Friends of the Hague group, what it is. And there will also be guests on Darker Than Blue on Friday, where I will also continue whatever discussion I said I was going to continue last week that I forgot about. I don't know. But that's what.
All right. Anything coming up on your side, Erica?
Well, August 5th, of course. So we are in deep preparation for that. You know, people are getting that surprise party together.
Surprise
garden party.
You know? So I'm staying out of the way while they plan that.
Are you? Are you really standing out the way?
1 or 2 mood boards.
Oh my
colors.
God.
You know?
Oh, before
within the theme.
Hey, before we leave today, we have to talk about really quickly this tsunami watch. Well, now it's not a watch. I think Klaus said in the chat that Lima, Peru is on a high alert. The waves have, I think they reached California, Hawaii, and Japan. People have been evacuated from the coasts in I think in California, in Honolulu, there were huge traffic jams with people trying to evacuate. So we're still watching that. This earthquake that hit Russia, that triggered a volcano to erupt in Russia, caused this tsunami, and it is the second, I think is the second most powerful earthquake since the 9.0 earthquake in 2011 that triggered a tsunami. So this is pretty pretty serious stuff. Y'all, please be safe. Cloud says she has to evacuate.
Yeah, be safe out there.
So this is
Sure.
the earth is angry. Okay.
Ain't lying. Well, at least Oprah's opening up her road to help people out.
Jesus Christ.
All right. So we'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for some more right here on the Remix Morning Show. Y'all have a great week, great day, and thank y'all for y'all being here. Your presence is a present. All right. Get out of here. Remix Morning Show. To who?
To BAP.
That's right. No compromise, no retreat.
All right. With that said, we out. Peace.